What if the most dangerous weapon in World War II wasn't a tank or a bomb or a rifle? What if it was a staircase? Not just a staircase, but a trap. A silent, hidden device designed to break the body, shatter the bones, and leave intruders crawling, hopeless and helpless. This is the story of the brutal staircase traps of World War II. A weapon so cruel, it was almost never spoken about. They weren't listed in manuals. They weren't celebrated in propaganda. They were secret, hidden inside the very architecture of war. And they were built to do one thing: to stop you from reaching the top. In World War II, the battlefield wasn't just the open field. It was also the building. The stairwell became a choke point, a narrow corridor where one soldier could be stopped or killed by the architecture itself. And the Germans, they understood this. They understood that a staircase wasn't just a path, it was a weapon. The goal wasn't to kill the intruder immediately. That would be too easy. The goal was to break them, to cripple them, to slow them down. Because in war, the slower you are, the easier you are to kill. Imagine you're in enemy territory. You've just forced your way into a building. Your heart is racing. You're climbing the stairs. And then the step beneath you gives way. Not a collapse, not a dramatic fall, but a silent trap. A staircase designed to collapse under weight and then reset. The soldier doesn't fall into a pit. He doesn't die instantly. He falls and lands twisted, broken ankle, shattered leg, and in the dark, in the confusion, he becomes a liability. The Germans used these traps inside fortresses, bunkers, and hidden strongholds. They were called trick stairs. Not a dramatic name, just a simple one. Because the best weapon is the one that doesn't announce itself. You climb the stairs, and the building itself turns on you. The enemy isn't a soldier. The enemy is the structure. A broken leg in World War II was almost always a death sentence. Not because the injury was fatal, but because help was never close enough. Medical supplies were limited. Evacuation was slow, and every minute spent crawling was a minute of vulnerability. So the trap didn't just injure the soldier. It changed the entire mission. It destroyed momentum. It created chaos. It broke the chain of command. And in war, chaos is the real weapon. Now, here's the part most people never think about. War isn't only fought by soldiers, it's fought by planners, engineers, architects, people who design buildings with one purpose: to control movement. If you can control the way someone moves through a building, you can control their fate. And in World War II, the stairwell became a battlefield. There were different types of staircase traps. One was the shock step, a single step that was engineered to be slightly higher or lower than the rest. Just enough to trip the soldier. Not a fall, just a stumble. But in a dark stairwell, under fire, a stumble can become a fall. A fall can become a broken bone. A broken bone can become a death sentence. And the trap didn't even need to be dramatic. It only needed to be subtle. These traps weren't just physical, they were psychological, because once you've been injured in a stairwell, you start to fear the next step. And, well, fear is a weapon too. The intruder becomes cautious, slow, doubtful. The mission becomes uncertain. And in war, uncertainty kills faster than bullets. One of the most infamous cases was inside a fortified German bunker near the French border. Allied soldiers entered. They moved cautiously. They climbed. One by one they fell, not into a pit, not into a spike trap, but into a designed collapse that shattered their ankles. And the bunker became a tomb for the wounded. Because the wounded couldn't move, they couldn't escape, they couldn't be rescued. They were trapped inside the building, by the building. You might wonder, why aren't these traps famous? Why aren't they talked about? Because they were secret, because the information was classified, because the world didn't want to admit that war had become architectural, and because once you admit it, you realize how terrifying it is, that the enemy can weaponize the very place you seek shelter. Today, many of these stairwells still exist, hidden in ruins, forgotten in the shadows, but they remain, silent, waiting. And if you ever find yourself in a ruined fortress, if you ever climb a staircase, you might feel the fear that soldiers felt in World War II. Not from bullets, but from the architecture itself. Because sometimes the deadliest weapon is the one you don't see. If you want more dark war secrets, hidden tactics, and the architecture of violence, subscribe, because the past is still hunting us, and the truth is always waiting in the shadows.